गिरिनन्दिनि नन्दितमेदिनि विश्वविनोदिनि नन्दिनुते गिरिवरविन्द्यशिरोदिनि वासिनि विष्णुविलासिनि जिष्णुनुते भगवति हेशितिकण्ठकुटुम्बिनि भूरि कुटुम्बिनि भूरि कृते जय जय हे महिषासुरमर्दिनि रम्यकपर्दिनि शैलसुते सुरवरवर्षिणि दुर्धरदर्शिनि दुर्मुखमर्षिनि हर्षरते त्रिभुवनपोषिणि शङ्करतोषिणि किल्बिषमोषिनि घोषरते धनुजनिरोषिनि दितिसुतरोषिनि दुर्मथतोषिनि सिन्धुसुते जय जय हे महिषासुरमर्दिनि रम्यकपर्दिनि शैलसुते जय जय हे महिषासुरमर्दिनि रम्यकपर्दिनि शैलसुते जय जय हे महिषासुरमर्दिनि रम्यकपर्दिनि शैलसुते
Hi guys, thank you for joining the live stream. We are back after 5 months discussing the book Shakti and Shakta by the famous Sir John Woodroffe, also known as Arthur Avalon. For those of you who are joining this live stream, the live discussion of this book for the first time, for those of you who don't know, Sir John Woodroffe is absolutely the authority on taking the scholarly perspective towards Tantra. If you don't want to become a practitioner right now, but you are just curious about what it is all about, what is this belief system all about, what is the philosophy behind it, what are the practical aspects, etc. If you are taking the scholarly or researcher perspective here, then Sir John Woodroffe is the absolute authority, and even endorsed by pretty much all Tantra practitioners themselves, including Sri Rajarshi Nandi. That's how I came to know of him in the first place. But funnily enough, or curiously, interestingly, he used to be a judge at the Calcutta High Court, which was the capital of the country back then, Calcutta. So one day he's not being able to focus on the case, okay? And he asks some stenographer or somebody or the security guards to check out what's going on. Something seems to be bothering him from the outside. Some noise is coming. Something is going on in his mind. They go outside and find that some sadhu is doing a yagya, and he immediately calls him inside and asks him, "What were you doing out there?" And he says that I was paid to distract you, and that's what I was doing from outside. So who knows what it meant if you're not a believer. But anyway, that makes Sir John Woodroffe curious at least. Then he gets fluent, absolutely fluent in Bengali and Sanskrit. Let me know if the audio is coming, by the way. So he becomes fluent in Bengali, Sanskrit. He takes Diksha under a very famous Tantra practitioner back then, Tantra Guru. And he in fact had to focus on his Sanskrit pronunciation so accurately that he used to sleep on the floor, as was instructed by his guru. Because in order to get your Sanskrit pronunciation correct, by correct here we mean in the way the ancients used to pronounce them, you have to live your life like the ancients. So you have to sleep on the floor or on something hard. So anyway, then he, for the first time, someone defends Tantra or the Shakti path, okay, in front of the foreigners who are going on maligning these traditions. And of course, in English for the first time. And he writes countless books. His foremost book is actually a 2-volume book called Principles of Tantra Shastra, which I will read someday after this book is done. We have already discussed Introduction to Tantra Shastra, which was his first book. It was a little clunky, to be fair. This book is pretty awesome. It's a collection of his lectures and essays and papers, okay? But edited very well in an absolutely very much a book form. And then we will get to Principles of Tantra Shastra, volume 1 and 2. It's insanely costly as well. And he has other famous books like Garland of Letters, meaning Varnamala, and something to do with the serpent, etc. So someone was asking how many pages left, okay? So we are at page 160, and the book is 465 pages long. Okay, and it is a pretty tall book. Okay, like our school textbooks. Okay, it's pretty tall and even then pretty thick. So it's basically a very big book. So today the two chapters we are going to discuss, if all goes well, if power and all doesn't go away. The two chapters are called. One is called Sarvanandanatha. It seems to be about someone. I don't know who he is, and that's just a 3-page chapter. The next one is a significant one, Cit-Shakti, a very significant topic as well. Okay, so let's start. Sarvanandanatha. The Sarvollasa, a copy of which came into my possession some 3 years ago, is a rare manuscript. It is a samgraha by the Sarvavidya Siddha Sarvanandanatha, who, though celebrated amongst the Bengal followers of the Agama, is, I should think, almost unknown to the general public. There is a life in Sanskrit. There is a life in Sanskrit of Sarvanandanatha entitled Sarvananda Tarangini by his son Shivanatha, in which an account of the attainment of his siddhi is given, and I am indebted in respect of this article to a short unpublished memoir by Srijukta, I guess, S.J. full stop. So I guess Srijukta Dinesh Chandra Bhattacharya, former lead research scholar, who, as a native of Tippera, I don't know what this pronunciation is supposed to be, probably some village in Bengal, Tippera, Tipperah, probably a wrong spelling. Native of Tippera, has had the desire to see Sarvanandanatha's place in the history of the so-called Tantricism in Bengal duly recognized. It is said that and those of you joining for the first time in this discussion for this book, uh, check out my playlist. Okay, there is an entire playlist. This is the 10th episode basically of discussing this book. We have been discussing the book for 9 episodes before this, so listen to all of them. It is said that we have found out insane fascinating things about Shakti and Shakta. It is said that Sarvananda had striven for siddhi for 7 previous births, and a verse preserves the names of the places where he died in these successive lives. His grandfather Vasudeva originally lived at Purvasthali in the Burdwan district, but was Burdwan basically, actually, for those of you who don't know, the non-Bengali people, Burdwan is a British pronunciation. The name is actually the name of the place is actually Bardhaman. Okay, so named after Vardhamana Mahavira, because Jainism was the first kind of, let's say, the Aryan sort of, or the Sanskritization people who came to Bengal. Among them, Jainism was the first one to come to Bengal. So, hence Bardhaman, where Anubrata Mandal is from. Anubrata, okay? Anubrata and Mahabrata are two kinds of sannyas you can take, or Diksha you can take in Jainism, I guess. So, his grandfather Vasudeva originally lived at Purvasthali in the Burdwan district, but was led by a divine call to Mehar in Tippera, where in ages past Matanga Muni had done tapas. A deep hole is still shown as being of Matanga's time. It is also said that round about the place where Sarvanandanatha performed his uh, Savasadhana, adept sadhakas even now discover the hidden linga established by Matanga, marked out by equally hidden barriers of kilakas. Vasudeva then went to Kamakhya, where he died after undergoing severe tapas. He left his son at Mehar, who himself afterwards had a son, the grandson of Vasudeva. In fact, it is said that the grandfather Vasudeva was reborn as the son of his own son, that is, as Sarvananda. In early life, the latter was stupid and illiterate. He was sharply rebuked by the local Raja for his ignorance in proclaiming a new moon day to be full moon day. Being severely punished by his relatives, he determined to begin his letters and went out to search for the necessary palm leaves. There in the jungle, he met a sannyasi, who was Mahadeva himself in that form, and who whispered in his ears a mantra and gave him certain instructions. His servant Puna was an advanced sadhaka who had been physically developed under Vasudeva. Puna, separating the subtle the subtle from the gross body, meaning the sukshma deha from the gross body, I guess is sthula deha. So subtle sukshma deha from the gross body served as a corp on the back of which Sarvananda performed Savasadhana and attained Siddhi that same new moon night, on which, to the amazement of all, a perfect moon shone over Mehar. This full moon episode is popularly the most famous of Sarvananda's wonders. A footnote says this is reprinted from the Hindustan Review, volume 41, January 1920. So this, I guess, essay, this article appeared in that paper. Sometime after Sarvananda left Mehar after having given utterance to the curse that his own family would die out in the 22nd, and that of the local chief in the 15th generation. This last announcement is said to have come true as the Raja's descendant in the 15th generation actually died without issue, though the family survives through his adopted son. Sarvananda started for Banaras but stopped at Senhati in Joshore in Bangladesh, where he was compelled to marry again and where he lived for some years. His place of worship at Senhati is still shown. Meera Tripathi, no, Tantra is absolutely Vedic. Marry again, where he lived for some years. His place of worship at Senhati is still shown. At the age of 50, he went to Banaras with his servant Puna and nephew Sadananda. At Banaras, the Shaiva Dandins were then, as now, predominant. He quarreled with them, or they with him, on account of his doctrines and practice. Okay, and for context, let me tell you all when this book was written. As far as I can remember, it's sometime around 1927, I think. The year is not mentioned here. Yeah, 1927. Yeah, okay. He gives phenomenal criticisms, critiques of the scholars with vested interests who were rebuking Tantra without any basis, and he gives phenomenal defense of Tantra as well during the earlier chapters. Okay, he quarreled with them, or they with him, on account of his doctrines and practice. In return for their treatment of him, he, to their awe and possible disgust, converted, so it is said, converted their food into meat and wine. Of course, the Banaras Dandins, as is usual in such cases, give a different account of the matter. Their tradition is that, after a Shastric debate, Sarvananda was convinced by the Dandins that the Siddhi which he boasted of was no real Siddhi at all, and was then made a convert to their own doctrines, which is the most satisfactory of all results for the men of piety who wrangle with others and try to make them come over to their views. It is worthy of note how quarrelsome in all ages many of the pious and wonder workers have been. But perhaps we do not hear so much of the quieter sages who lived and let others live, diffusing their views not amongst those who were satisfied with what they knew or thought they knew, but among such as had not found and therefore sought some more knowledge. What a great sentence here, guys. Check this line. Listen to this line once again. Perhaps we do not hear so much of the quieter sages who lived and let others live, diffusing their views not amongst those who were satisfied with what they knew or thought they knew, but they diffuse their views, those quieter sages, they diffuse their views amongst those people who had not found and therefore sought more knowledge. After this event, Sarvananda disappeared from Banaras, which rather points to the fact that the Dandins did not acquire a distinguished adversary for their community. Tradition is silent as to what happened to him later and as to the date and place of his end. Srijukta Dinesh Chandra Bhattacharya has made for me a calculation as to the date of Sarvananda's Siddhi, which fell on a Poush Sankranti. For those of you, I guess non-Bengalis know the names of such months, right? The Sanskrit, I think, Ucharan would be Pausa Samkranti. In Bengali, we call it Poush Sankranti. So, Srijukta Dinesh Chandra Bhattacharya has made for me a calculation as to the date of Sarvananda's Siddhi, which fell on a Poush Sankranti corresponding to Chaturdashi or Amavasya falling on a Friday. Between 1200 and 1700 AD, there are 3 dates on which the above combination took place, vis-a-vis 1342, 1426 and 1548 AD. The first date is too early, as 15 or 16 generations to which his family descends at present does not carry us so far back. The last date seems too late, for according to tradition, Janaki Vallabha Gurvacharya, himself a famous Siddha and fifth in descent from Sarvananda, was a contemporary of one of the quote-unquote 12 Baro Bhuyas of Bengal, okay, 12 Bhuyas of Bengal, late in the reign of Akbar, during around 1600 AD. The date 1426 AD is therefore adopted. It will thus appear that he lived about a century before the 3 great Bengal Tantrikas, namely Krishnananda, Brahmananda, and Purnananda, all of whom are of the 16th century. But this calculation has still to be verified by the data culled from an examination of the Sarvollasa, such as the authorities which its author cites. This last work, I am told, is that by which he is best known. Two other short Tantrika works are ascribed to a Sarvanandat, though whether it is the same Siddha is not certain. There is, I am told, wait, it's a huge word. Let me just check it. Nobarno Puja Paddhati. Okay, yeah, that is what it seems like. There is, I am told, a Navarna Puja Paddhati by Sarvananda in a manuscript dated 1668 Vikramabda in the Raghunath Temple Library in Kashmir. देखो, Kashmir has never been an integral part of India, and that is a historical fact. ये देखो, in every era, South Shaiva Siddhanta, Bengal's Shaivism, and Kashmir always connected, always connected. Plus the Shakti Peethas in the West. So there is, I am told, Navarna Puja Paddhati by Sarvanandanatha in a manuscript dated 1668 Vikramabda, meaning the Vikram Sambat year. Okay, Vikramabda, and today the Bengali calendar is called Bongabdo. Vikramabda in the Raghunath Temple Library in Kashmir. And another work, the Tripurar Chana Dipika. Tripura Archana Deepika is reported from the central provinces, so Madhya Pradesh, I guess. So this is before independence. As is usual in such cases, there is a legend that Sarvananda is still living by Kaya Vyuha, is some hidden resort of Siddha Purushas. The author of the memoir from which I quote tells of a sadhu who said to my informant that some years ago he met Sarvanandanatha in a place called Champakaranya, but only for a few minutes because the sadhu was himself miraculously wafted elsewhere. Wafted. Some very curious reading of deep interest to the psychologist, the student of psychic phenomena and historian of religions, is to be found in the stories which are told of sadhus and siddhas of Sarvananda's type, who, whether they did all that is recounted of them or not, yet lived so strangely. As, for instance, to take another case, that of Brahmananda, the author of the Shaktananda Tarangini, who, going in his youth in quest of a prostitute, found in the house he entered, and in the woman who came to him his own mother, herself the victim of a Musalman ravisher. देखो सोशल रियलिटीज कैसे कल्चर में बिना डायरेक्टली बोले कैसे मतलब सीप इन कर जाता है. This sentence, I was going to repeat it anyway because see how he sets up the premise of the kind of the premise of the entire book. Okay, since this is a scholarly perspective to Tantra, see, even though he believes in these things himself, he's a Tantra Upasaka himself. He's saying if you are a student or you have interest in psychology or psychic phenomena or even historian of religions, okay, religion studies and stuff, even then you must look at these things. And then he mentions the story of sadhus and siddhas of Sarvananda's type, who, whether they did all that is recounted of them or not, okay, even if they did not, yet lived so strangely. As, for instance, to take another case, that of Brahmananda, the author of the Shaktananda Tarangini. Okay, guys, Google his name. This man has to be looked into. Brahmananda, the author of Shaktananda Tarangini, who, going in his youth in quest of a prostitute, found in the house he entered, and in the woman who came to him his own mother, herself the victim of a Musalman ravisher. Let's take the atheist perspective to this. What do you think happened? He obviously probably went to a brothel. He found his mother there captured, right? It may not be so. My atheist half of my brain tells me this. It was the horror of this encounter which converted his mind and led him to become a sadhu, during which life he did dhyana in the body of a dead and rotting elephant and the other things related of him. They await collection. But when their value has been discovered, possibly these traditions may have disappeared. Even if all the facts related of these sadhus and siddhas were the work of imagination, he's being fair. He's saying even if these were works of imagination, and whilst some of them may be so, others are in all probability true enough, even then they are worth preservation as such. Bhai, yehi to baat hai cultural hindutva ka. Or even if you are atheist, okay, even Sir John Woodruff gets this. Preservation ke liye belief is not necessary. The history Ab ka bataye. The history of the human mind is, as such, is as much a fact as anything which is revered because it is quote unquote objective. This last class of fact is generally only the common experience. It is attractive, yet sometimes fearsome, to follow the mind's wanderings both in the light and in that curious dark. Of kya grasp hai bhasha pe, which only explorers in these paths know. Yes, and if you don't do take a little some curious steps towards these practices, you won't know. If one does not lose one's way, and in this lies a peril, we emerge with a confidence in ourselves at having passed a test, a confidence which will serve our future. In any case, as I have said there, as I have said, there is an opportunity of research for those whose workings are in the outer crust of mere historical fact. Kya brilliant, fair explanation hai. कि even if you are not a practitioner, why this book or this study of these things is might be valuable for you. Okay, there is an opportunity for research for those whose workings are in the outer crust of mere historical fact. Even then, you must research these things because you'll find out more things about the society itself. What else is the really point of studying cultures and religions? Okay, because you find out about the society, how they look at people and society around them. Tantra seems to be a part of Dvaita Vedanta. No, we need classical liberal politics. Yes. So by that time, Muslim invaders were, yeah 1668. No, because remember the Furfura Sharif is was founded in about 1327. So this is 300 years after that. Even Ambedkar. Okay, same. I'm reading into these things. Good. यार ये book पढ़ना पड़ेगा. Yeah, brilliant book. तुम शुरू से हमारा live stream सुन लो ना. वैसे वैसे खरीदो भी. These books must become popular again because see, it's a pretty good print. Okay, quality बहुत बढ़िया है. No, not too many print mistakes, and this is printed in Chennai of all places. Okay, Ganesh and Company, Madras Private Limited. No one buys these books anymore. Let these publishers know that they did a good job or a good thing by preserving these things, so that someday, by listening to some podcast, some guys will start buying these books again. So thank them by buying these books. Now the most important chapter, one of the more important chapters, Cit-Shakti. That answer my previous question. John Woodruff and Carl Sagan were smarter than crap atheists today, of course. कौन सा previous question, Mira ka beta? Even Ambedkar held jihadi Islamic invasions. What was your question? कौन सा वाला बोलो फिर से. Ganesh and Company is a quality publisher. Yeah, absolutely. Seems so. I never knew of them before buying this book. I think my introduction to Tantra Shastra is also from these publishers only. No, that one is from a different publisher. There was some spelling mistakes there. So chapter 14, Cit-Shakti, the consciousness aspect of the universe. Cit-Shakti is Chit as Shakti, that is as power, or that aspect of Chit in which it is, through its associated Maya Shakti, operative to create the universe. It is a commonly accepted doctrine that the ultimate reality is Samvid, Chaitanya, or Chit. Okay, in Bengali we pronounce it as Shombit. Shombit, Chaitanya or चित्तो. थोड़ा ऊपर है. अरे एक बार फिर से पूछ लो, ठीक है. Unfortunately, they are not promoted or made to go up in the quality ladder. Yeah. But what is Chit? There is no word in the English language which adequately describes it. I thought consciousness is Chit, no? It is not mind. Actually, Sri Aurobindo translates Chit as consciousness. Sachidananda, he translates it as truth, bliss, consciousness, something like that. Chitto, yes, Saugad, in Bengali, today we use the word Chitto or Chit as consciousness, but I guess if you look at it strictly from the theological perspective, then Chit might not have a true translation or a correct translation, accurate translation. Same as Viveka. In Bengali, we use the word Bibek Bodh as if we are talking about conscience or morals, right? But Bibek means something very significant, although you could interpret it as conscience, but it's kind of a second order, third order thing. But Viveka basically means discrimination, okay? And I love it because that keeps us away from the kind of Abrahamic sympathy route today we have, that everything is beautiful, fat people are beautiful, ugly people are beautiful, a manhole, a gutter is as beautiful as the mountain, etc. All those things, okay? So if everything is beautiful, then nothing is beautiful. If you don't prioritize things, If you don't say some things are specifically better or beautiful, you have nothing to live for, right? That's absolutely a path down nihilism. So why Vivek is discrimination is because when you are prioritizing something, implicitly by default you are discriminating against the non-good thing. Okay, so hence Vivek is discrimination. And wait, we'll get into some other topics later on. Vivek means discrimination, which means to discriminate between good and bad. Exactly. So prioritization, choosing, choice, right? Nobody wants to buy actual religious books beyond Itihasa Puranas. Yeah. So, what is Chit? There is no word in the English language which adequately describes it. It is not mind. Hmm. For mind is a limited instrument through which Chit is manifested. Yeah, yeah, true. So, man or mon in Bengali would be mind. So, Chit has to be something beyond mind, because because Chit is manifested in the mind. So, what you are conceiving of in your mind can't be the same as your mind. It is that which is behind the mind and by which the mind itself is thought that is created. The Brahman is mindless. Amana or Amana, not Amana, Amana. If we exclude mind, we also exclude all forms of mental process, conception, perception, thought, reason, will, memory, particular sensation, and the like. We are then left with three available words, namely consciousness, feeling, and experience. To the first term, there are several objections. So here he is critiquing, or at least taking a different route from Sri Aurobindo. He's saying consciousness can't be, as far as I remember, Sri Aurobindo translated consciousness as Chit. Okay, don't hold me accountable for this. But at least he's saying consciousness can't be called Chit because we must understand it. There are several objections. For if we use an English word, we must understand it according to its generally received meaning. Generally, by consciousness is meant self-consciousness, or at least something particular, having direction and form, which is concrete and conditioned, an evolved product, marking the higher stages of evolution, right? Because all these things will only be there in a higher stage of evolution. According to some, it is a mere function of experience, an epiphenomenon, a mere accident of mental process. In this sense, it belongs only to the highly developed organism and involves a subject attending to an object of which, as of itself, it is conscious. Okay. Listen to this sentence once again. In this sense, it belongs only to the highly developed organism. Okay. Involves a subject attending to an object of which, just like it is of itself, it is conscious of that object as it is conscious of itself as well. That, yes, I am here. I am somebody here. I am a person who runs the College Street Kolkata channel. So, and I want this mic. Okay, I know what this mic's company is, things like that. But if I don't know who I am and I don't know what this thing is, then of course it's not consciousness. We are thus said to have most consciousness when we are awake, Jagrat Avastha, and have full experience of all objects presented to us. Less so when dreaming, Swapna Avastha, and deep anesthesia in true dreamless sleep, Shushupti. I may here observe that recent researches show that this last state is not so common as is generally supposed. That is complete dreamlessness. Complete dreamlessness is rare. There being generally some trace of dream. In the last state, it is commonly said that consciousness has disappeared. And so, of course, it has if we first define consciousness in terms of the waking state and of knowledge of objects. According to Indian notions, there is a form of conscious experience. Okay, according to Indian notions, there is a form of conscious experience in the deepest sleep, expressed in the well-known phrase, "Happily I slept, I knew nothing." The sleeper recollects on walking that his state has been one of happiness. Okay, the sleeper recollects on waking, sorry, not walking, waking. The sleeper recollects on waking up that his state has been one of happiness. Happily I slept, I knew nothing. And he cannot recollect unless there has been a previous experience, anubhava, which is the subject matter of memory. In ordinary parlance or terminology, we do not regard some low animal forms, plants, or minerals as conscious. It is true that now in the West there is, due to the spread of ideas long current in India, growing up a wider use of the term consciousness in connection not only with animal but vegetable and mineral life. but they don't have sentience because they don't have the nervous system. So actually Hindus were right. But it cannot be but it cannot be said the term consciousness has yet generally acquired this wide signification. If then we use, I guess it took the significance by the time Sri Aurobindo wrote about it, or by the time now we are talking about it, because words, the meanings or implications of words or terms get reordered, no, with changing time. So I guess today we could call chit as consciousness, chitta chetana consciousness. Today probably, yeah, acquired this wide significance. If then we use, as for convenience we do, the term consciousness for chit, we must give it a content different from that which is attributed to the term in ordinary English parlance. Nextly, it is to be remembered that what in either view we understand by consciousness is something manifested, okay, manifested, and therefore limited, manifested, therefore limited, and derived from our finite experience. The Brahman as chit is the infinite substratum of that. Okay, the Brahman as chit is the infinite substratum of that. Chit in itself, Swarupa, is not particular nor conditioned and concrete. Particularity is that aspect in which it manifests as and through Maya Shakti. Chit manifests as Jnana Shakti. When used otherwise, when used otherwise than as a loose synonym for chit, it means knowledge of objects. Chit Swarupa is neither knowledge of objects nor self consciousness in the phenomenal sense. Walking, dreaming, and dreamless slumber are all phenomenal states in which experience varies, such variance being due not to chit but to the operation or cessation of particular operation of the vehicles of mind, antahkarana, and sense, indriya. But chit never disappears nor varies in either of the three states, but remains one and the same through all. Though chit swarupa is not a knowledge of objects in the phenomenal sense, it is not, according to Shaiva Shakta views, I refer always to Advaita Shaiva Darshana, it is not, according to Shaiva Shakta views, a mere abstract knowing or jnana which is wholly devoid of content. It is not that. It contains within itself the Vimarsha Shakti, which is the cause of phenomenal objects, then existing in the form of chit, chidrupini. The self then knows the self. Still less can we speak of mere awareness as the equivalent of chit. A warm or meaner form of animal may be said to be vaguely aware. In fact, mere quote unquote awareness, as we understand that term, is a state of chit in which it is seemingly overwhelmed by obscuring Maya Shakti in the form of tamoguna. Unless, therefore, we give to awareness, as also to consciousness, a content other than that which with which our experience furnishes us, if we do that, then both terms are unsuitable. Okay, listen to this again. Unless, therefore, we give to awareness as also to consciousness a content other than that with which our experience furnishes us, both terms are unsuitable. In some respects, chit. Okay, so these old English sentences are confusing for no reason. They used to construct them in the opposite way. So unless, therefore, we give to awareness as also to consciousness, what do we give to awareness and consciousness? A content other than other than the things that only we can experience from our experience. Okay, unless we do that, both become unsuitable. In some respects, chit can be more closely described by feeling, which seems to have been the most ancient meaning of the term chit. Feeling is more primary, in that it is only after we have been first affected by something that we become conscious of it. Feeling has thus been said to be the raw material of thought, the essential element in the self. What we call personality being a particular form of feeling. Well said. I think Rene Girard would agree. Thus, in Samkhya, the gunas are said to be in the nature of happiness, sukha, sorrow, dukha, and illusion, moha, as they are experienced by the Purusha consciousness. And in Vedanta, chit and ananda, or bliss or love, are one. For consciousness, so Satchitananda, I guess. For consciousness, because consciousness then is not consciousness of being Sat, but being consciousness, Sat Chit. not a being which is conscious of bliss, Ananda, but being consciousness bliss, Satchidananda. Further, quote unquote, feeling has this advantage that it is associated with all forms of organic existence. Okay. Further, feeling has this advantage that it is associated with all forms of organic existence, even according to popular usage, and may scientifically be aptly applied to inorganic matter. Thus, whilst most consider it to be an unusual and strange use of language to speak of the consciousness of a plant or stone, we can and do speak of the feeling or sentiency of a plant. Further, the response which inorganic matter makes to stimuli is evidence of the existence therein of that vital germ of life and sentiency, and therefore chit, which expands into the sentiency of plants and the feelings and emotions of animals and men. It is possible for any form of unintelligent being to feel, however obscurely, and it must do so if its ultimate basis is Chit and Ananda, however veiled by Maya Shakti these may be. The response which inorganic matter makes to stimuli is the response which inorganic matter makes to stimuli is the manifestation of Chit through the sattva guna of Maya Shakti, or Shakti in its form as Prakriti Shakti. The manifestation is silent and apparently mechanical because of the extreme predominance of the tamoguna in the same Prakriti Shakti. We're talking about stones and plants here, okay? Because of the limited and extremely regulated character of the movement, which seems to exclude all volitional process as known to us, it is currently assumed that we have merely to deal with what is an unconscious mechanical energy. Unconscious mechanical energy, right? Because vitality is so circumscribed and seemingly identified with the apparent mechanical process, we are apt to assume mere unconscious mechanism. But as a fact, this unconscious mechanism, okay, is just the form assumed by the conscious vital power which is in and works in all matter, whatever it be. To the eye, however, unassisted by scientific instruments which extend our capacity for experience, establishing artificial organs for the gaining thereof, the matter appears jada. Oh, no, no, sorry. The matter appears jada, or unconscious. And both in common English and Indian parlance, we call that alone living or jiva. We call that alone living or jiva, which, as organized matter, is endowed with body and senses. Philosophically, however, as well as scientifically, all is Jivatma, which is not Paramatma. Everything, in fact, with form, whether the form exists as the simple molecule of matter or as the combination of these simple forms into cells and greater organisms. The response of metallic matter is a form of sentiency. Its germinal form, a manifestation of Chit, intensely obscured by the Tamoguna of Prakriti Shakti. Beautiful. M. Shastri Singh, feeling for Chit makes sense and natural. You experience sight because your eyes can feel the light hitting the retina. You can perceive objects because it interacts with the eyes through light. Yeah. Chittu in Kannada means the focus of the mind. Right. Yeah, that is how we use it in Bengali even today. Okay. Let me have some green tea now. Okay, let's see if Mira Tripathi asked his question. Do you believe Devi Sadhana was an important source of strength for Hindu warriors like Shivaji, without which the fierce resistance maybe would have not put up? Yes, yeah, pretty much. Because let me take a atheist sociological enlightenment era perspective to this. You need unifying factors, and you need your consciousness, okay, to be in sync with everyone else's consciousness. And that is what when you are in a war, okay, when you are at least planning to be successful in a war, okay, when you're planning to protect your country and stuff, and you can't have that without collective worship, without at least collective uh, chanting of things. Okay, let's say today in the Indian army, they are not collectively worshipping the same thing, right, or the same person or the same god, right, because they are from different religions, but they have some core calls for action, and that is what in its essence, core, are chants or all mantra chants about. It is about altering or manipulating or modulating your consciousness. So think of it like the muscle memory as a issue or a phenomenon that all athletes practice. Okay, visualization to chodo. Anyone who has played any cricket or football in their school days even knows that. Okay, you imagine and imagine and imagine hitting the sixer, making the century, etc. But muscle memory, triggering your muscle memory is more in likeness with these things, because I have given these examples. You were not our subscriber back then, about Israel Adesanya, and many people do it in different ways, which is why Rahul Dravid used to put up his left pad always, the first, okay, right pad second, left pad first, okay. These are muscle memories that you can trigger. Okay, why, how? Let's say you are walking around chilling with your friends and stuff. You are not in training mood or training mode all the time, right, as an MMA fighter. But and every day in the MMA gym as well, you're not going to go all 100% in, because you'll be injured all the day, all the time, all year round. Okay, on very very specific days, let's say once a week or twice a month, okay, you go full in, all hard in, as if you are as if you are fighting your actual MMA fight, and you give it your all. But the way Israel Adesanya trained himself is that before he goes in for the 100% practice, okay, he would do some weird chantings. He would click with his fingers on both hands and just shout woo 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 woo. Okay, so what his body and consciousness is associated with right now, by doing that for months and months, is that whenever I do that, I go 100%. And he has done this over and over for months and months and months. So when his actual fight begins on the actual day in front of the audience, he does that, and he immediately gets transferred into that mental state or zone. Okay, so what the fuck do atheists know? Do you think more the society advances, the more we distance ourselves from uh, society overall? Yes. um M Shastri disagrees. Okay, let's see. It's off the top of my head, maybe. Sean Strickland. Yeah, Erie and Sean Strickland, even mostly Erie, he follows all that. Although he lost, but it's not going to guarantee you winning, but it's going to kind of guarantee you that you are able to put your 90%, 100% most of the times. Pram is saying there is an interesting account about this from Rajesh Nandi. He said by chanting and visualization we create a dev in the spiritual realm, which then connects us to the real divine. Which is why although I take atheist explanations, I'm not being able to take the full atheist leap, because what if all these things which are kind of there in all civilizations and customs in some form or the other, what if there are entities, let's say, beyond our three dimensions, who operate this way only, who want us to think of, conceptualize these things in the same way? Let me say something which is, I guess, kind of would be borderline heresy in Hinduism, but thanks to Hinduism being tolerant, I'll probably get away with saying this. Every society needs its lore, mythical tales, and people, and characters to inspire people, right? What if in USA, since they did not have their kind of founding lore and characters and myths and stuff, because they started out with Christianity, then Protestantism. I mean, there are people who converted to Christianity in around 600 AD. Then the Protestants come here and come to US and settle them. What if Batman and Superman were their way of conceptualizing those same values? One is kind of a gray, one is absolute moral good. Okay, and you may pick and choose. You may choose whom to follow. You may choose whom to get inspired from more. But every society in the end ends up conceptualizing these sorts of characters. So what if that's being done by those entities themselves? Yiri came with no adjustments. Yeah. So in plants, chit is less obscured, and there is the sentient life which gradually expands in animals and men, according as chit gains freedom of manifestation through the increased operation of sattva guna in the vehicles of chit, which vehicles are the mind and sense and the more elaborate organization of the bodily particles. What is thus mere incipient or germinal sentiency, simulating unconscious mechanical movement in inorganic matter, expands by degrees into feeling akin, though at first remotely, to our own, and into all the other psychic functions of consciousness, perception, reasoning, memory, and will. The matter has been very clearly put in a paper on the four cosmic elements, by C.G. Sander, which, subject to certain reservations stated, aptly describes the Indian views on the subject in hand. He rightly says that sentiency is an integrant constituent of all existence, physical as well as metaphysical, and its manifestation can be traced throughout the mineral and chemical as well as vegetable and animal worlds. Now, uh, Afin is saying, nah, the atheist answer will be convergent evolution for gods. Oh, by the way, Superman was a Jewish hope like icon that was made by his Jewish maker as their savior. You should read more on superheroes. Yeah. What are the socio-political scenarios for them to appear? That is not relevant. The fact that America felt a need to create that, and the fact that America adopted them as significant characters, that says something about uh, the similarity of all cultures. Okay. And um, we can't go into a full atheism versus theism debate here, but what I'm saying is that if at all we take the atheism angle, even then I find no problems with Tantra. Some things are unprovable, and if someone says that I can do them, just show me. And even if you don't want to show me, fair enough, okay? But as for applying things to your own consciousness, I don't see where there is a fight with atheism. But more importantly, the way these things are being pursued, whether it's Israel Adesanya triggering his muscle memory, or here altering your consciousness through Sanskrit chants, we are basically talking about some eternal concepts. So if there are eternal concepts and we worship those eternal concepts in personalized, humanized forms, then again, there should be no fight with atheism at all. And uh, there are some legitimate debates to be had about, I think, the scapegoat mechanism that all societies have. And scapegoat mechanisms usually lead the society to be peaceful. Now I'm wondering whether our scapegoating mechanisms, which are applied to a literal goat, whether that makes us very vulnerable. And if that kind of sanitizes us towards the violence, and we think that okay, we sacrifice this goat, and therefore now all is taken care of, and then your land gets taken away and then ravished. Maybe we need other scapegoats. um so even in India we have Christian Shaktiman. Yes, that's called changing meta history. Say like Islam change Jesus of Christianity to Jesus of Islam. Okay. I read somewhere Ambedkar also had a very strong critique of atheists. He himself admitted the importance of religion in society. I have not read it fully. Thank you, Bhupendra. Your take on wholesale conversion of Hindu Buddhism kingdoms in SEA, Malaysia, Indonesia to. Yeah, as far as I remember, it was done not because of the same reasons that it was done here. Okay, it was done to keep, I think, those lands uh, not on so much friendly terms with the Indian mainland. I think it was started by that Zheng He, the Muslim eunuch, a general of China. Therefore, they treat the non-Muslim religions or cultural aspects in the same way as well. They, I guess, have a little less a bit of hatred. The difference between Batman, Superman, and Devta Devi is the same as between science fiction and scientific theories. One is for entertainment escape, the other is hopefully answers to. Fair enough. Yeah, what Praveen Singhania is saying here is absolutely true, because the society did not move beyond conceptualizing Batman, Superman as merely entertainment. Okay, some people did not. Some people, I absolutely uh, I'm sure that some people have thought of them as personal inspirations forever and after. Okay, not just entertainment. You don't buy lakhs of rupee or dollars of memorabilia and let's say posters and action figures and stuff just because you are entertained by it, because you draw inspiration from it directly. And similarly, here as well in India, some just treat Devta Devi as their ATMs, local travel managers, and marriage counselors and stuff. Whereas it's supposed to be much more than that. Mm. Dada, why does Tradwing always try to portray weirder system? Now they come up with things that women used to do parda in ancient India. What do you say about this? If I say something, they say I am hidden liberal. No, so just ask them to prove it. If they can prove it, then fair enough. Show us the citations from legitimate history books. Okay, thank you, Bhupendra. Okay, let's continue now. Okay, so the matter has been very clearly put in a paper on the quote. The name of the paper is "The Four Cosmic Elements" by C.G. Sander, which, subject to certain reservations stated, aptly describes the Indian views on the subject in hand. He rightly says that sentiency is an integrant constituent of all existence, physical as well as metaphysical, and its manifestation can be traced throughout the mineral and chemical as well as vegetable and animal worlds. It essentially comprises the functions of relationship to environment, response to stimuli, and atomic memory in the lower or inorganic plane. Whilst in the higher or organic planes, it includes all the psychic functions such as consciousness, perception, thought, reason, volition, and individual memory. Inorganic matter, through the inherent element of sentiency, is endowed with aesthesia, or capacity of feeling, and response to physical and chemical stimuli such as light, temperature, sound, electricity, magnetism, and the action of chemicals. All such phenomena are examples of the faculty of perception and response to outside stimuli of matter. We must here include chemical sentiency and memory. We must here include chemical sentiency and memory, that is, the atoms. Why so many cars today? That is, the atoms and molecules' remembrance of its own identity and behavior therewith. Atomic memory does not, of course, imply self consciousness. Easy to misconstrue these things, right? By fake tantrics. Atomic memory does not, of course, imply self consciousness, but only inherent group spirit, which responds in a characteristic way to given outside stimuli. Fair enough. We may call it atomic or physical consciousness. The consciousness of plants, the consciousness of plants is only trance-like. Okay, the consciousness of plants is only trance-like, what the Hindu books call comatose. Though some of the higher aspects of sentiency, अरे इतना गाड़ी आज क्यों बाहर? Though some of the higher aspects of sentiency, and we may here use the word consciousness, higher sentiency meaning of the vegetable world, are highly interesting, such as the turning of flowers to the sun, the opening and shutting of leaves and petals at certain times, sensitiveness to the temperature, and the obvious signs of consciousness shown by the sensitive and insectivorous plants, such as the sundew, the Venus flytrap, and others. The microorganisms which dwell on the borderland between the vegetable and animal worlds have no sense organs, but are only endowed with tactile irritability. Yet they are possessed of psychic life, sentiency, and inclination, whereby they perceive their environment and position, approach, attack, and devour food, flee from harmful substances, and reproduce by division. And ये सब तो वो भी प्लांट के जगत में बोल रहे हैं. There is an infamous far leftist anti-vegan guy in Bengal, who is known for pissing off vegans. So he's a far left commie, and he says vegans are RSS ka dhalla and stuff. So he had once upon a time come up with this argument that animals should be eaten, animals should be murdered. There is no animal rights is pointless because they lack something called collective resistance. So since he is a commie union buzz guy, although he's never been outside his home because he's actually psychologically a little handicapped. I mean, he has autism. His mother later joined the arguments to defend her son, because everyone was very pissed off when they were always going on reporting his profile and stuff. So anyway, so imagine you put your hand inside the hen's cage, okay, in your local meat shop, and 2-3 hens move away. But because they just move away, they have not decided amongst themselves that they will move away. Hence, you must actually kill them and eat them. I have built a beautiful puja room. Doing daily puja is the best stress buster therapy I know. Yes. Honeyman is saying now they have a problem because some tourists were not wearing full clothes while bathing in Ganga, and they cite some smritis. Yeah. TMC is gifting cards. Yes, yes. Uh, no, the cloth thing is also in the Krishna stealing clothes event in the Puranic literature. Okay. Which book is being discussed today? Shakti and Shakta by Sir John Woodruff. This is the 10th episode of this book's discussion. Okay, check out our playlist. We have already done 9 episodes of this book on this book. Okay. Uh, so their movements appear to be positive or not reflex. Every cell, both vegetable and animal, possesses a biological or vegetative consciousness, which in health is polarized or subordinate, so either opposite or subordinate to government of the total organism of which it forms an integral part, but which is locally impaired in disease and stops altogether and ceases altogether at the death of the organism. In plants, however, unlike animals, the cellular consciousness is diffused or distributed. Okay, in plants, however, unlike animals, the cellular consciousness is diffused or distributed amongst the tissues or fibers, there being apparently no special conducting or centralizing organs of consciousness such as we find in higher evolutionary forms. Right. Animal consciousness in its highest modes becomes self consciousness. The psychology of the lower animals is still the field of much controversy. Hmm. Some regarding these as Cartesian mechanics, and others ascribing to them a higher degree of psychic development. In the animals, there is an endeavor at centralization of consciousness, which, right, in the animals, there is an endeavor at centralizing of consciousness, which reaches its most complex stage in man, the possessor of the most highly organized system of consciousness, consisting of the nervous system and its centers and functions, such as the brain and solar plexus, the site of Agya, AJNA, the Agya, and upper centers and of the Manipura chakra. Sentiency or feeling is a constituent of all existence. We may call it consciousness, however, if we understand, which the author cited, if we understand the term consciousness to include atomic or physical consciousness, the trans consciousness of life, of plant life, animal consciousness, and man's completed self consciousness. You can use the word consciousness only if you consider all these things inside the category of consciousness, only then. আরে অনেকদিন পরে তন্ত্র, ইয়েস আমার দম আটকে আসছিল এই বইটা না পড়তে পেরে, আমার ভাল লাগে না কিছুদিন এগুলো না পড়লে. The same fight is present in pharmacology, whether animal models can be used or should we use non-cellular model. Right. The term sentiency or feeling as the equivalent of manifested chit. Okay, the term sentiency or feeling as the equivalent of manifested chit has, however, this disadvantage, which is, whereas intelligence and consciousness are terms for the highest attributes of man's nature, mere sentiency, though more inclusive and common to all, is that which we share with the lowest manifestations. In the case of both terms, however, it is necessary to remember that they do not present Chit Swarupa or Chit as it with capital I, okay? They do not represent Chit Swarupa or Chit as it is in itself. The term Swarupa, own form, is employed to convey the notion of what constitutes anything what it is. Okay? Is employed to convey the term Swarupa or own form is employed to convey the notion of what constitutes anything what it is, namely its true nature as it is in itself. Thus, though the Brahman or Shiva manifests in the form of the world as Maya Shakti, its Swarupa is pure Chit. Neither sentiency nor consciousness, as known to us, is Chit Swarupa. Right. Of course. Neither sentiency nor consciousness, as known to us, is Chit Swarupa. They are only limited manifestations of Chit, just as reason, will, emotion, and memory, their modes are. Chit is the background of all forms of experience, which are its modes, that is, Chit veiled by Maya Shakti. Chit Swarupa is never to be confounded. Okay? Chit Swarupa is never to be confounded with or limited to its particular modes. Chit Swarupa is never to be confounded with or limited to its particular modes, nor is it their totality, because while it manifests in these modes, it yet in its own nature, it with capital I, it yet in its own nature infinitely transcends them, goes beyond them. Neither sentiency nor consciousness nor any other term borrowed from a limited and dual universe can adequately describe what Chit is in itself, Swarupa. Vitality, mind, matter are its limited manifestations in form. Vitality, mind, matter are its limited manifestations in form. These forms are ceaselessly changing, but the undifferentiated substratum, okay, the undifferentiated substratum of which they are particularized modes, that one is changeless. That eternal changeless substratum is Chit, which may thus be defined as the changeless principle of all our changing experience. Ah, beautiful. The changeless principle of all our changing experience. All is Chit, clothing itself. Okay, all is Chit, clothing itself in forms by its own power of Cit-Shakti and Maya-Shakti. And that power is not different from itself. Chit is not the subject of knowledge or speech. For as the Varaha Upanishad, chapter 4 says, it is, quote, the reality which remains after all thoughts are given up. End quote. What is in itself, itself with capital I, what is in itself is unknown but to those who become it. Okay, what is in itself is unknown to all except those who become it. It is fully realized only in the highest state of ecstasy or samadhi and in bodiless liberation, videha mukti, when spirit is free of its vehicles of mind and matter. A modern Indian philosopher has, see the book Approaches to Truth and the Patent Wonder by Professor Pramothanath Mukhopadhyay. A modern Indian philosopher has very admirably analyzed the notion of the universal ether of consciousness, the chidakasha, and the universal ether of consciousness, and the particular stress with capital S here, the particular stress formed in the ether of consciousness, okay, universal ether of consciousness, particular stress formed in the chidakasha, formed in it by the action of Maya Shakti. In the first place, he points out that logical thought is inherently dualistic and therefore presupposes a subject and object. Therefore, to the pragmatic eye of the Western, viewing the only experience known to him, consciousness is always particular, having a particular form and direction. Fair enough. Therefore, to the pragmatic eye of the Western, viewing the only experience known to him, consciousness is always particular because they have a particular form and direction. Hence, where no direction or form is discernible, they have been apt to imagine that consciousness as such has also ceased. Thus, if it were considered that in profound sleep there were no dreams, or if in perfect anesthesia it were granted that nothing particular was felt, it was thereby conceded that consciousness may sometimes cease to exist in us. It has thereby considered that consciousness may sometimes cease to exist in us. What does in fact cease is the consciousness of objects which we have in the waking and dreaming states. Consciousness as such is neither subjective nor objective and is not identical with intelligence or understanding. Very important. Let me underline this. Consciousness as such is neither subjective nor objective and is not identical with intelligence or understanding. That is, with directed or informed consciousness. Any form of unintelligent being which feels, however chaotically it may be, is yet, though obscurely so, in the sense here meant, is still conscious. Pure consciousness, that is, consciousness as such, is the background of every form of experience. In practical life and in science and philosophy, when swayed by pragmatic ends, formless experience has no interest, but only certain forms and tones of life and consciousness. Where these are missed, we are apt to fancy that we miss life and feeling consciousness also. Feeling dash consciousness, okay? Where these are missed, we are apt to fancy that we miss life and feeling consciousness also. Hence, the essential basis of existence or chit has been commonly looked upon as a very much specialized and peculiar manifestation in nature. Right, exactly, which is why I was very excited about reading this chapter, because Sri Aurobindo's, even though his English is insane, even then, reading every paragraph 3-4 times, 5 times, 8 times, I have read some paragraphs of his. Understanding the concept of Cit-Shakti from his book was very fruitful. Uh, the same fight. What would be a good book to understand Tantra Shastra for beginners? Uh, I would recommend absolutely. Depends on how much books you are open to reading. Okay, if you're an avid reader, start with Arthur Avalon or Sir John Woodruff's book, the 2-volume Principles of Tantra Shastra. If you are into only small books, read the Introduction to Tantra Shastra. It's called Introduction to Tantra Shastra. It's a small book, but it was this man's first book, so it's not that well edited. There are some weird sentence constructions and stuff, weird paragraph constructions and stuff. Or you could the middle road would be this book only. Okay, brilliant collection of his essays and lectures and research papers. Okay, that he presented in different places all across the world, written in 1927, called Shakti and Shakta. Does consciousness mean element of life? হায় রে অভয় এতক্ষণ পরে এসে এটা জিজ্ঞেস করছে। File is saying please do a music discussion chat one time. Yeah, but not many people are interested in it. No, they will think that I'm trying to gain well for just for followers I'm doing it, not for the main goal of the channel. Hence, the essential basis of existence or chit has been commonly looked upon as a very much specialized and peculiar manifestation in nature. I will have to listen to it from the beginning, because it means many things, consciousness, and the answer we concluded was mentioned just about like 10 minutes back. On the contrary, chit is being, or chit is being with capital B. On the contrary, chit is being or reality itself. Chit is, as such, is identical with being as such. The Brahman is both chit and sat. Though in ordinary experience, being and feeling consciousness are essentially bound up together, they still seem to diverge from each other. Brilliant. That is why if there's one thing I'm sure of in terms of Hindu theology, that is that modern psychology has absolutely no answers. It was trying to get to some good answers. Today's mental health mafia has taken over this space completely and has absolutely fucked the space. But in terms of all things related to mind, whether stability or curing yourself, mental health, diseases and stuff, for all that, Hinduism, and I would say especially Tantra, has the best answers. First of all, I would argue half your mental problems get solved just by thinking of these things in such subtle, nuanced, such delicate ways. Okay, he's saying that being, meaning your existence, and your feeling consciousness is usually jumbled up together, but they are different. Your being, first you just be, and then you have a feeling consciousness, so they are definitely two separate things. বাইরে গেছিলাম, আরে বেঙ্গলিতে বাইরে গেছিলাম বলে। Be a capitalist, advice from a communist. Man by his very constitution, inveterately, man by his very constitution, meaning his mental constitution, inveterately believes in an object existence beyond and independent of his self. In an objective existence beyond and independent of his self. Holy cow. Man by his very constitution inveterately believes in an objective existence beyond and independent of his self. And this is so long as he is subject to the veil, Maya Shakti. But in that ultimate basis of experience, which is the Paramatma, the divergence has gone, which is the main thing you have to do by taking the Tantra path, by taking Diksha and stuff, by following the exact procedures. But what we are learning from this book is what exactly is the practice about. So in that ultimate basis of experience, which is the Paramatma, the divergence has gone because the same boundless substratum, okay, the same, visualize this, beautiful sentence constructions, the same boundless substratum, which is the conscious continuous mass of experience, okay, because the same boundless substratum, which is the continuous mass of experience, is also that which is experienced. Nice, juicy. But in that ultimate basis of experience, which is the Paramatma, the divergence has gone. Why? Because the same boundless substratum, which is the continuous mass of experience, is also that which is experienced. The self is its own object. To the exalted yogin, the respected yogin, the whole universe is not different from himself as Atma. This is the path of the upward going Kundali, Urdhva Kundalini. If it is saying, bhai, now imagine someone reading Tantra and seeing the submitting to the veil and claiming, oh, look in. Yes, কবে আমি বাহির হতেম তোমারই গান গেয়ে, রবীন্দ্রনাথ. Yes, ভালো বাংলায় বহিরও বলা হয়. Yes, yes. There should be Bharatiya psychology. I would be absolutely up for it. I may not ask for Hindu sociology all of a sudden, because we have to tackle the Western sociology academia in their terms, in their playing field. But we can absolutely scrap this fucking today's psychology nonsense and absolutely come up with Hindu psychology. But it has to be done by able people. This is the path of the upward going Kundalini, Kundali, Urdhva Kundalini. Further, there has been a tendency, in fact, to look upon consciousness as a mere function of experience, okay? Yeah, of course. And the philosophy of unconscious ideas and mind stuff would even go so far as to regard it as a mere accident of mental process. This is to reverse the actual facts, okay? He's saying that when people talk like this, they are actually reversing the actual facts, okay? I guess causality is opposite here. So, what is wrong according to Sir John Woodruff here? There has been a tendency, in fact, to look upon consciousness as a mere function of experience, and the philosophy of unconscious ideas and mind stuff would even go so far as to regard it as a mere accident of mental process. This is to reverse the actual facts, and he says this is wrong. Consciousness should rather be taken as an original datum, okay? Consciousness should rather be taken as an original datum than as a later development and peculiar manifestation. Interesting claim. I have not thought about it. I'm inclined to believe the opposite as well. Let's see if I read more, maybe if I think about it hard enough, maybe I'll come to the other conclusion as well. Can consciousness, yeah, if we get to the beyond 3 dimensions and stuff, which is possible theoretically in physics already, but even not that far-fetched, even otherwise, if consciousness is a concept, if it's a principle, then can't it be that it is the original datum rather than the later development and peculiar manifestation? Maybe it is the cause, not the end result. We should begin with it in its lowest forms and explain its apparent pulse life by extending the principle of principle. Aha, इन्होंने खुद principle word use कर दिया है. I'm chill. I'm cool now. We should begin with it in its lowest forms and explain its apparent pulse life by extending the principle of veiling or Maya Shakti, which is ceaselessly working in man, reducing his life to an apparent series of pulses also. An explanation which does not start with this primordial extensity of experience cannot expect to end with it. Because if it be not positive at the beginning, it cannot be derived at the end. But what, it may be asked, is the proof of such pure experience? When if at all consciousness, there is some consciousness which is the causality of everything else and not the end result of your experiences. Psychology, which only knows changing states, does not tell us of it. This is so. Yet from those states, some of which approach indifferentiation, inferences may be drawn. Inferences ka to Sanskrit term hai, anumana pramana, although it was kind of later invalidated. Inferences may be drawn and experience is not, for it was invalidated, and pratyaksha chakshusha pratyaksha pramana was prioritized. Inferences may be drawn and experience is not limited to such states, because that experience may transcend them. It is true that ordinarily we do not meet with a condition of consciousness which is without a direction or form. Fair enough. It is true that ordinarily we do not meet with a condition of consciousness which is without a direction or form. Okay, he's being fair again, that the consciousness we are talking about, we don't really usually see it. But tests are drawn from the incidents of ordinary normal life. Tests drawn from the incidents of ordinary normal life are insufficient. It has been argued to prove that there is no consciousness at all when this direction and form are supposed to have gone. Let's see if he goes into examples, it will be fun. Though a logical intuition will not tell its own story, we can make reflection on intuition render us some sort of account, so that the intuitive fact appears in review when it will appear that consciousness is the basis of indeed existence itself. Okay, consciousness is the basis of existence itself and not merely an attendant circumstance. But the only proof of pure consciousness is an instance of it, not the entirety of it, is only an instance of it. This cannot be established by mere reflection. Hmm. The bare consciousness of this or that, the experience of just going to sleep and just waking, and even the consciousness of being as such, are but approximations to the state of consciousness as such, that is pure consciousness, but are not identical with that pure consciousness. Then what evidence, it may be asked, have we of the fact that pure consciousness is an actual state of being? It's getting interesting now. In normal life, as well as in abnormal pathological states, we have occasional stretches of experience in which simplicity of feature or determination has advanced near to indifferentiation, in which experience has become almost structureless. This can't be explained without examples. In normal life, as well as in abnormal pathological states, we have occasional stretches of experience in which simplicity of feature or determination has advanced near to indifferentiation, in which experience has become almost structureless. But the limit of pure experience is not there reached. Okay, the limit of pure experience is not there reached as well. On the other hand, there is no conclusive proof that we have ever had a real lapse of consciousness in our life, and the extinction of consciousness as such. Okay, we have never had a real lapse of consciousness in our life, and the extinction of consciousness as such is inconceivable in any case. The claim, however, that consciousness as such exists rests not so much on logical argument as on intuitive grounds, on revelation, shruti, and spiritual experience of the truth of that revelation. तो ये तो ट्राई करके देखना पड़ेगा. Cogito ergo sum. According to Indian monism, a pure principle of experience not only is, but is the one and only ultimate permanent being or reality. It does not regard Chit as a mere function, accident, or epiphenomenon, but it holds Chit to be the ever existing plenum which sustains and vitalizes all phenomenal existence, phenomenal, which are phenomenons, okay, and is the very basis on which all forms of multiple experience, whether of sensation, instinct, will, understanding, or reason, they rest. It is, in short, the unity and unchanging reality behind all these various changing forms, which by the veil or Maya Shakti, Jiva assumes. I have said this before also while reading this book. This is very, very advanced philosophy. Your brain goes on boiling, or brain gets fried, because if I just want to read through it to make a live stream video, I can, but if I truly try to understand it, grasp it, internalize it, and then maybe expound on it with a bit of one or two sentences, then it's insanely harrowing. And unless you have some training in philosophy, which I don't, it gets insanely tiring. What's the time? 9:25. I think we can't do this chapter in one sitting at all. And today we will have to discuss this book, otherwise we won't be able to continue. We will forget everything we discussed. Yeah, this is a gigantic chapter. I think this is a nice place to end then here. We will take it up from here tomorrow again, okay? Oh, what a beautiful culture we have. Let's discuss the comment section a bit. We'll start from here again tomorrow. Abhay Singh, okay. Cogito ergo sum. AWS Lee, okay. He already called Mahabharata. FN, don't give Shivraj. I used to work in Marwari firm when I started my career in Kolkata. Big advice. Okay. Okay, not any significant comment to discuss. Okay then, thanks guys, thanks for joining. This was very deep, very extreme nuanced stuff. We'll have to take it up tomorrow. Thanks for joining. Yeah, this is very dense philosophy. And Bhupendra, I have to implore that please check out our previous 9 episodes on this book, okay? Or read the book on your own as well if you get time. Insanely dense. One or two chapters after I got up, I felt like going for a run or taking a bath or like doing something significant. I felt like I was lifting dumbbells with my brain. Yeah, very dense. Okay, bye bye guys, good night.
श्रवरूढं महाभीमं गुणाद्रष्टाङ्गरप्रदं हस्य युक्तं त्रिनेत्रं च कपालकर्णिकाकरा मुक्तकेशीं ललज्जयं पिबन्तीं रुधिरं चतुर्बाहु समायुक्तं वराभयकरं स्मरेत् चतुर्बाहु समायुक्तं वराभयकरं स्मरेत् काली काली महाकाली कालिके पापहारिणी धर्मर्थ मोक्ष देवी